me to remembering a number of years ago now, back around the first part of Open Heart being established. And here I was, teaching, and we were talking about the various principles that we hold dear here and that we teach, and law of attraction and all of that. And the car that I was driving, actually it was an SUV, was on its way out. As a matter of fact, it stopped on me several times, and I knew it was time to get a new car. And so what I did was I said, well, you, John, have to practice what you preach. So I decided upon a particular SUV that I wanted, and I began to see myself driving that. As a matter of fact, it was a Honda Element. I laughed with Margaret and Matthew. And so at that time, Honda Element was a new vehicle, and there were not very many in Memphis, but there was something about it when I saw it for the first time. I said, that's the car for me. That's the car I want. And so then one morning when I got up and I was getting ready to go to work, and I opened the blinds in my kitchen window and I looked out and I could see the street from my kitchen window, and there was a kind of burnt orange one that passed by. I said, wow, yeah, that is what I want. And so then I started doing all of the stuff, that we talk about doing, visualizing it and holding it in mind and talking in positive ways and writing about it and all of that. And I began to see more elements show up around town. Because when you start tuning into something, you start singing, I start seeing more of them show up around town. And then it got to the point where I finally got things together, and I said to myself, well, on Monday, I'm going to go to the dealership, and I'm going to go and get that element. And this is what happened. That Sunday, we were still meeting over at First Congregational Church at the time, and we finished. And I was driving on my way home, and I stopped at the intersection of Walnut Grove, right there, Walnut Grove and Highland. And when I got there, I looked over to my left, and the car next to me was a Honda Element. I looked at the intersection, there was one on that side, there was one coming from the other side, there was one coming toward me. 4 of them at the same time, at the very same intersection. Thank you, universe. Thank you. I went home that evening, and as I started thinking, tomorrow's the day to go to the dealership and get your element. What else do you need? You not only were singing in different places, but you were, after having left Open Heart that day, you got there to the intersection, and right there you saw 4 of them, one from every direction. What other sign do you need? And as I sat there that evening and I started thinking about all of that and all of the signs and all of what it means, and then this little voice says, but what if your credit isn't good enough? What if you don't have enough for down payment? What if they don't have one that you like? What if they turn you down? What if all of those things started creeping through my mind? And even as I tried to send my mind to someplace else, that little voice would come back again and again and again. And the next day, I had taken a half day off from work so that I could go over to the dealership. I went over to the dealership, and as I was driving over there, those thoughts kept going through my mind. And as I got there, and I went and I looked at the element that I liked, it was the color that I wanted, and all of that, and we went inside, we started talking things, and still going, credit's not good enough. I don't have enough for down payment, and all of those things. And I saw my dreams derailed by doubt, because I got so overwhelmed with all of that. Rather than sticking to what I knew, the next thing I know, they said, well, we can't approve you for this car, but we can approve you for that car. And so ultimately I ended up getting what some people would call the yellow submarine. And when I thought about, when they told me the reasons why, and they were talking about the payments and all of those things like that, what I figured out later as I left the dealership, there was only a $10 difference between between what I was paying for the yellow submarine and the element that I wanted. But doubt had derailed things. And one of the things that I think is really, really important for us to think about is that here we constantly talk about the fact that we are a part of the creative universe, the one universal substance, and we create our reality by creating our thoughts and all of those things there. But I would happen to say that I'm not alone in finding that in the midst of all the things that we do, that sometimes doubt doesn't creep in for each of you. And somewhere along the way, that as you set your course, and you set your vision, and you say what it is that you want to have happen in your life, you find yourself sometimes, maybe not all the times, but sometimes being derailed by doubt. And I said to myself as I was contemplating what it was that I was going to speak about today, that I want to be transparent enough and not stand before the congregation and say, oh, I never have doubt, and I know the truth, and I'm always operating from that truth. But to be honest, to say that there are times in life where I think we all find that doubt comes in. And the important thing to do then is to become aware of that. And when it becomes aware of that, begin examining where it comes from. Because after all, the wisdom that we understand is that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. And if thoughts of doubt come in, we're basically sowing the seed for whatever it is that we're doubting about and sowing whatever that doubt is. And so it's important to become aware of what our doubts are. And I think that the first thing that we have to see is that a lot of times those doubts come from a place of fear. They come from a place of fear where we are fearful about making change, where we are fearful about moving into something new, where we are fearful because of past conditioning, where we are fearful because we don't always trust the universe or trust the power of spirit enough, so we doubt. So it's important to understand that fear and the things that we fear ultimately have no power, except the power that we give to them. Irvin Seal, in his book, Take Off From Within, talks about the story of a young man who goes into a darkened room searching for something, and he feels something become entangled and wrapped around his leg. And as it becomes entangled and wrapped around his leg, he becomes very frightened. And as he's frightened, because in his mind he sees that it's a snake, he feels that a snake has gotten a hold of his leg and all of that. And so he actually, out of fear, passes out. And when they find him the next morning, there he is, laying on the ground with a rope entangled around his leg. But because he had allowed his mind to convince him that it was a snake, he found himself entangled by fear so much to the point that it caused him to pass out in that manner. And the thing of it is that we have to stand in a place that when things begin to happen, we have to step back. We have to take that breath. We have to look at the situation and examine the situation and see, is there anything that I really truly need to be worried about? And if it's something that I need to be worried about, is there something that I can do in this moment to correct it, to change it? And if I cannot, then learn how to let it float on by. The second thing oftentimes that plants seeds of doubt in our mind and those kinds of things is what in the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron talks about when she says our poisonous playmates. Anybody got a poisonous playmate? Those are people that whenever you go to them and say, this is what I'm thinking of, these are my dreams, this is what I'm hoping, this is what I'm planning to do, this is what I have in mind, that poisonous playmate is, you said that before, you tried that another time. What makes you think you can do that? You ain't special. You don't know anything about entrepreneurship. You don't know anything about a successful relationship. You've been through 25 other ones. You said that about somebody else. You don't know about going back to school, trying to do this or that. But all of those things, that poisonous playmates, will tell us and discourage us. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it's important to be careful who we share our dreams with. Because while people tell us they love us and they have our best interests at heart and all of those things, there are some people that just simply don't want to see us do well. Les Brown says that, usually when people ask you how you're doing and, you tell them how you're doing and all that, he says something about, 80% don't care and the other 20% are lying. But the fact of the matter is, not everybody is on our side, even though they may say so, because they are dealing from their own doubts and their own fears and their own insecurities and their own poisonous playmates. And so the thing of it is to be selective in who it is that we share those dreams with. And the one thing that I've talked about in the past and that I'm glad to have is what Mary Morrison calls a partner in believing. And that's to become connected with somebody that knows and holds the truth for you, even when you can't for yourself. And they will remind you when you feel yourself discouraged, when you feel yourself in doubt, when you feel yourself feeling like you're going down the wrong path. They will remind you of your truth, and they will hold for you the truth of who you are, and you do the same for them. And they are your partner in believing, your PIB. And it's important for us to have that support. You think about it, a lot of things that happen, we like to say that we're fiercely independent. I'm my own person, I'm my own man, I'm my own woman. But ultimately, it's oftentimes that other person who's there just to let us know that it's going to be all right. So cultivating that and not sharing dreams with everybody until, maybe the time may be right at some point, but allowing ourselves to stay focused on the dream, to stay focused on our thoughts, to stay focused on whatever it is that we wish to have manifest and express itself in our lives. Because we do live in a universe that we impress our thoughts upon it and it responds. And I think that the other way in which oftentimes doubts derail us is because we look at our own past. We look at our failures. We look at where we've fallen short. We look at where this idea or that idea didn't work before. And the thing of it is that we get caught up in that, not recognizing and realizing that each day is a new day. Each day is a new opportunity. I remember I used to sign my letters, and at the end of the letters I'd have that closing line where I would say, "Be thankful for this day full of promise, potential, and possibility." Because the thing of it is, each new day brings promise and potential and possibility. And when we allow ourselves to be in that divine flow and that divine knowing, it makes a difference. But we get caught up in our past, and we oftentimes look at those past mistakes and look at where we went wrong and look at where things didn't work out for us, not understanding that, as we say in this teaching, the principle is not bound by precedent. And that's very important to remember. What it says to us is, no matter what happened in the past, it doesn't influence our present moment, nor does it influence our future. Just as we might have tried something before, and it may not have been just the right moment, it doesn't mean that we don't try again. When you look at people in life that have made something and have accomplished and achieved things, one of the elements that they have about them is that they keep on keeping on. I remember somebody saying it like this, that the big shots in life are just the little shots that keep on shooting. They talked about when Michael Jordan, now some people, we're getting old enough that for some people they may not remember Michael Jordan anymore. But when Michael Jordan had that stint where he decided that he didn't play basketball anymore, and he went off and tried his hand at baseball and everything, and then when he came back, everybody was wondering whether Michael Jordan was still had. And if you remember his first game back, he didn't do so well, except in one statistic, and that was Michael Jordan attempted more shots than the other two teams combined. And while he didn't hit very many shots and make very many points that day, somebody who was astute enough said, Michael Jordan's back. They said, what do you mean? He didn't score, have a great game, didn't score a whole lot. And they said, but look at the fact that he continued to shoot. And even though he didn't score every basket, he continued. He hung in there. And even though other people might have looked at him and shook his heads and their heads to say that, it's over for him, he kept on because he didn't let his doubts derail him. He kept on shooting. He kept on trying. He kept on going. He kept on believing. And that's ultimately what we have to do. When we talk about trusting in the power of spirit, it means we embrace the idea that we live connected to a being, to a presence, to a power that continues to create worlds, that continues to create every moment new, that continues to express in and as us as new ideas and new opportunities and new experiences and new relationships and new, every day, every moment, new every moment. And when doubt starts to creep in and try to derail us again, we can begin using affirmations and begin using our presence of mind to say, hold on, I've got this. That I am surrounded by good. I live in a world of good. Good flows through me. Good flows around me. Good is everything that I am. God is. And when we begin to stay in that presence of mind and stay in that flow, possibilities, potential open itself to us.